right here. I'm already starting. This is my routine for working on my neck. It's going to involve a little bit of Qigong, a little bit of breathing. It can be turned up or turned down, simply working on the neck or engaging the whole body. I'm going to be describing the whole body version throughout. Right now, I'm just bouncing. So, a couple things: feet parallel, knees bent. I'm not too worried about my hip, but right now, I want to actually sort of push. Actually, wrong word. Relax my sacrum down a little bit and sort of bounce a little bit more with my hip flexors than with my lower back. So that's good. Then I'm really trying to just sort of allow my joints to relax and let the shaking sort of just micro open and close them. I'm sort of stimulating all my joints, stimulating my lymphatic system. Also, I find that this sort of brings me into this moment. So I've been just dorking around with AI for the last few hours, both writing some stuff and working on software related to these videos. And in any case, here I am, been nerding out for the last 2 hours, and I want to stretch, but I'm not in a mind space for that. If my mind is racing, it's really hard to calm down, relax, and breathe. And just this right here, a few minutes of this, I can tell where I'm breathing. Am I here? Because I've been using my brain and actively thinking and working on stuff. Have I moved it down to here? Have I calmed down a little bit? Or am I really hitting my belly? And when I'm really hitting my belly, everything else is going to just flow. Now, you might be too tight to have those sensations. You can get them over time. And also, if you go through the standard routine of stretches that I've got on other videos, over time, you stretch the front. And then you have, when that's more relaxed, when you turn down the resting tension of your body through deep flexibility, you then start to notice tension better and you can work with it a lot more thoroughly. Anyway, that's good. I'm not quite tingling enough, but I'm good for right now. All right. Feet parallel, knees bent. I'm going to, again, relax my sacrum down. If you can't relax your sacrum, and that could be tightness, two things. Thing one, push it down. And maybe you'll feel something right here. What you're doing is you're leveling your pelvis, all right? Thing two, you can stretch. I've got stretches that'll help with this so that you can actually accomplish this. But I hope that you feel something in your heels when you do that. If you push it down, you can definitely feel it. If you can relax it down, it feels deeper to me. Next thing, I'm gonna push my head slightly up. And I'm gonna just roll my shoulders in big, slow shoulder circles forward. I'm gonna do this a few times. I've got some snapping going on both shoulders actually. I just felt it on both sides. If you have a especially tight spot, hold it and go slow. It's kind of like micro PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. You hold and release. That's what all that really means. It's a fancy way to say hold and release. And typically, now I'm going to reverse, by the way. When you hold and release muscles, they can tend to bounce back with a slightly lower amount of tension. If you hold it for a long time, 2 to 5 minutes, then you're starting to do deep flexibility, and you start to change the structure of the tissues, the sarcomeres, so that the muscles can relax deeper. And the more you practice it, the more you touch all the sarcomeres, because there's millions of fibers that you're relaxing. And in doing that over time, you generally increase your overall flexibility, decrease your resting tension, decrease your A1C, but you can also sense things in your body better. Again, I'm a nerd. Software. I'm talking about body stuff now. Because I've gotten to the point after 10 years of Tai Chi that I can actually start to sense it, but it's taken years of deconstruction to get to the point where I can feel anything. And I'm still just surface. So anyway, now I want to start working on the shoulder. Oh, one more thing with the shoulders. We went forward and back, but let's alternate, almost like you're walking in place. And if you take really big shoulder circles and just sort of let the rest of your body move, you might notice that your hips or waist are moving side to side naturally. I'm not moving my waist deliberately. I'm just moving my shoulders actively. And by moving them this far, notice I'm going to have to engage the ligaments, which is going to have a counteracting effect on the opposite part of the body. So that's an important thing to remember. When you work on the left, you probably are helping the right. When you work on the front, you're probably helping the back, etc. Okay, relax. Do just a little shaking. Okay, so my shoulders loosened up, but let's loosen them a little bit more. So first thing, let's do some noodly arms. Maybe feet a little bit wider. You want to be careful not to twist your knees too much. So a good way to do that is feet parallel, hip width or a little bit wider. Relax your sacrum down. Feel a little bit of extra hip weight into your heels. And now just let your arms flop and turn at your waist. Just start with turning at your waist. And really just as much as you can, practice passive arms here. In fact, I'm going to stop moving. Watch my arms. It's hard. It's hard to completely let them go, but there's definitely you can turn it up quite a bit. And being able to relax one part of your body while you're working on another part of your body is working on fine grain muscle control. It's going to help with neuroplasticity. It's going to help you take those neurons that your brain produces every day in the hippocampus. Is it 750 or 700? I don't remember. And give them something to do. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little more active on the arms. Same thing with the feet. Feet hip width. If I were in Wu Chi, I'd want them hip width. I guess for here, I'm going to be turning at the waist a little bit actively, so I'm going to have them just a little bit wider. Bent knees, relax the sacrum down. Feel pressure in your heels. Great. Fontanelle, push your fontanelle. That's the back third of the head, top, where the tip of the ears come together. Push that up. You might notice your chin comes back a little bit. Okay, great. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to start looking forward, but I'm going to turn my waist and my hips side to side. Now, this might already be pretty aggressive. So, in fact, if you want to relax this a bit, in fact, try this. Turn your head with this. So, turn your entire upper half of your body slowly side to side. Go really slow. There's no rush here. Really feel through it. See how far you can twist. I've been doing this for years, and I practice Bagua, which is important because Bagua is all about twisting. And I actively have practiced twisting my waist now for years. I've gone from back pain and basically crippled, having a very bad back to pretty good back. Okay, now the next thing I want you to do the same thing, but keep the head forward. Notice the difference. What you've just done is you're keeping, so again, this, where you're turning from the head all the way down at the same time, you've only got one stable point, the waist. Or I guess actually in this case, it's the perineum. What I'm going to do is if I keep the head forward, then I've got two. So I'm twisting my spine between a stable top point and a stable bottom point, and that's why this is a more intense twist. Okay, now let's slow it down a bit. Just move your upper part. So just your shoulders and your arms, keeping everything else stable. And again, continue looking forward. Okay, now stop your arms, do your midsection, waist and hips. Okay, now opposite. So as the shoulders go clockwise, the waist and hips go counterclockwise, and then reverse. And just do this really slowly. And again, so right at the tip of your legs, the perineum, from there, which is stable, to the base of about my chin, I guess even part of my neck is stable. So the whole spine is stable top to bottom, but I'm twisting it really dry. And this is something, if I just sort of squeeze something to get the water out of it, that's good. But if you take a rag and twist it opposite of each other, then you're going to get a better squeeze. That's what we're doing to our spine. Do this slowly, do this over time. Your spine's going to get stronger. Your body reacts to and adapts to how you use it. The more you stretch your spine, the more your spine's going to stretch. Be slow though, because you're working with a delicate object. So take your time. Okay, so we sort of loosened up that way. I'm going to sort of do some more neck work. So back to the feet. In this case, I'm going to go hip width. I'm going to relax my sacrum and my knees are bent. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see what this looks like. So again, feet parallel, knees bent. Right here. Okay, let's see if I can do this while I know you're looking. Now I can't do it. Okay, there we go. Now, when I'm able to relax, I feel more activation in my hip flexors. So that's another sign for me. You know, your results may vary. You know, I'm an experiment of n equals 1, so it's really good to completely generalize from a sample of 1. because you're guaranteed to fail. All right, anyway. I'm going to push the fontanelle up. What I'm doing is I'm holding the bottom of my spine stable, and I'm pulling my spine up. By having my sacrum relaxed, I've engaged ligaments in my hips. So I've engaged what's called the first bow in Tai Chi. Now I'm working on the second bow, which goes from the perineum to the fontanelle. I'm taking my spine and I'm just pulling it straight. Now it's still going to have a natural curve, but it's going to have less of a natural curve. But what that does is I'm engaged from the waist down, bow one. Bow two now is locked in. So now my head is connected to my feet. If I externally rotate my thighs, I can engage even more, but it took me 12 years to even understand that I could do that. So now the third bow, here's a third bow right here, the arms. I'm not working with those right now, but you can certainly add them in. And if you want to simply add them in, have a nice curve and have the Lao Gong point. So where your middle finger hits, pointing into your lower dantian or your mid dantian. And that's just 2 fingers below the belly button. So there's some Tai Chi for you. So now what I want to do is I'm going to allow my eye to lead my head. I'm going to look up and then I'm going to continue following with my head, look down, and do that a couple times. So I'm synchronizing my eye movement with my head movement. Again, we're working on the brain. We're making the brain work in ways that it hasn't, synchronizing different parts of the body at different times. And while it's not a lot, nothing plus nothing plus nothing eventually equals something, side to side, looking to the left, and then moving to the left, and then right. Now, something I haven't mentioned through any of this because I've been talking is breath work. So while you're doing this yourself, you can certainly do it and not pay too much attention to your breath, and that's fine. It's great exercise that way. If you want to turn it into a deeper exercise, try to coordinate your breath. So, for example, my head is all the way to one side. Inhale as I go to the left. Now, if I'm thinking Tai Chi as opposed to flow, I'm going to sort of pause. I feel like pausing, so I'm going to pause, exhale, inhale, move, exhale, pause. Now, I could inhale and then move on the exhale. It probably makes a bit of a difference, but the important thing is you are consciously picking and coordinating the movement of your breath with the movement of your body. Again, you're synchronizing different things at the same time. You're improving your brain. Slowly over time, you're going to notice improvement. One of the reasons why you take less damage from Tai Chi and stretching is you tend to have a more balance in your body, and so you tend to fall less. Well, your brain's working better too, so you respond better. Okay, so now I'm going to do big circles. If you get dizzy, sit down for this, is fine, or hold on to the wall. So I'm going to move my eyes and follow in big circles. Honestly, for this one, I have enough trouble doing this intentionally that I'm not going to worry about my breath, but it's certainly reasonable to start at the top. Okay, I'm going to exhale down, inhale up. Then I'm going to reverse. Ooh, man, I've got Rice Krispies all along my neck, just crunchy. Okay, so I'm going to do just a little bit of shaking. Again, this is going to stimulate your muscles. It's just a little bit. Again, it's not much, but it's a little bit. This is something you can do. You could do this when you're waiting in line. Maybe not this, but there's a lot of these things. You can sit there and relax your hips and get a bit of an exercise right here doing just that standing in line. No one's going to notice. So these are all just simple things you can do. I've had snowpocalypse for the last few days. I was kind of stuck at home, and so this is the kind of stuff that keeps you sane. All right, so we've worked on our neck. We've worked on our hip. We've done some twisting. So now let's do some isometrics. I'm going to take off my glasses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to engage my first bow in Tai Chi and my second bow, and then I'm going to push. Now what that's going to do is I can just push my head. I mean, and if you're only able to do this, this is good. If I just simply push my head into my hand, I'm going to feel some nice pressure probably over here on the trap. And if I do that over time, I'm going to strengthen this side. When I do this, I'm going to feel it over there. And so slowly over time, I'm going to get a better, more supported neck. If you have neck issues, this might be the place to start for you. If you have the space to do more, if you sit and engage the second bow, you can then engage from here all the way, say, down to mid back, maybe a little bit lower. Or you can get the whole body engaged. And when you do that, it's a really much more difficult pose. So you can turn this very simple thing into a very hard pose in very little space. Let's do that. In fact, I'm going to build it up from detail. I'll do it from the side. Actually, I'll do it from this side since I already did that side. So my feet are parallel, hip width apart. Just a gentle bend in the knee. Still see my toes. Okay, I'm going to relax the sacrum down. Now I'm actually feeling a little more pressure on my heels. I'm going to actually actively press just a little bit. Now I'm getting a nice stretch here. Okay, I'm going to go back and relax that press and just go to relaxing my sacrum. I'm going to push my fontanelle up. Now watch my spine. I'm going to slightly move forward, but that's not me. I mean, it's the physics of my body. And when I straighten my spine a little bit, I come forward. I'm having to grip with my toes to stop me from going too far forward. So now I've got the second bow engaged. I'm going to go back and make sure the first bow is engaged. I'm now going to actively engage it. And then I'm going to push up with my fontanelle. And I'm going to take my right hand and push into my left as I do all of that and also relax or actively push my shoulder down. So I'm pushing my shoulder blades down as I push my fontanelle up. Here we go. And I'm just going to count in my head. Okay, and go. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm also going to relax as much as I can my left side. The more I relax my left side, the deeper I can get the pose down closer to my hips. The feeling of the stretch, the pressure. I haven't been counting, so I'm going to say I'm at 11. And relax. Whew, relax out of these slowly. Don't come out of them too quickly. Whew, man. Now, I'm already starting to feel that, and I'm actually kind of holding my breath. So it's I don't do a lot of breathing there, but breathe as you can. Since the whole thing is tight and I'm holding everything, that's kind of that's a yang pose. And then I'm going to relax for a second. But I want to get, if I have it, there it is. I want this. This is going to stimulate my vagus nerve of my neck with an electromagnetic field. I think it's 17 hertz. It actually works. I don't get anything for saying that. I won't even give you the name of the product. But if you're interested, give me a question. I will highly recommend this thing. I am recommending it. I'm just not telling you what it is because nobody's listening anyway at this point. Okay, again, self-aware. I do enjoy recording these things because I tend to do more as a result, but I'm showing off to nobody. And yet my extroversion, it works for me. Feet parallel, knees bent, sacrum relaxed. Push the fontanelle up, back to the sacrum, actively pushing my sacrum down. Left hand, I'm going to start counting. I'm going to take my right side and as much as possible relax it. The more I relax it, the further down in the back I'm going to feel it. So, and here we go. I think that was a little bit longer. That's fine. Okay. That really deepens the experience. So for that, I was feeling that all the way down to about here. Hey Chesh, how you doing, buddy? Okay, continuing forward and back. For this, I'm going to interlace my hands. I want a symmetrical grip. This and this are mirror symmetrical. This or this is symmetrical, so both hands. If you don't do it symmetrically, you're going to become unbalanced. So, feet parallel, knees bent. I'm going to take a big deep breath in, inhale. I'm going to inhale my belly, push it into my back, and then expand my chest. Drop down. Relax sacrum down. Pressure in my heels goes up just a little bit. I'm leaning forward a bit. Let me do this again. Feet parallel. Got my eyes closed, and I'm just sensing, so proprioception, my feet's in engagement with the floor, slight name. I can feel the bend in my knees. I can feel just a little bit of tension on the skin as I start to relax my sacrum down, and then my heels. And I push fontanelle up. There we go. This is better. Left hand. And then I'm going to, I've already done this. I'm going to do the front. All right, here we go. The front, for this is the weird one for me. And this one and back, the dropping the shoulders really deepens it. So here we go. And but at this point, I'm expecting it to feel all the way in my transverse. I mean, abdominals all the way to the front. So here we go. Oh, yeah. Came out about too quickly. I'm a little bit dizzy. Okay, good. Whew, that's really good. Now, by the way, I recently learned what we're doing is a form of PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. I mentioned that. And really, this is it. Hold and press, relax. I used to think it was only when you did it really deeply, like in poses like the side splits, but that's just on the one end of the spectrum, that counts. And then the other end of the spectrum is squeezing to near failure and then relaxing into it. The other one is painful. All right, anyway, back, a little bit easier to do this. Again, feet parallel, knees bent, sacrum. Now I'm going to go ahead and actively push my sacrum down in general, which has the feeling of opening up my front a little bit. Hands on the back of my head, dropping my shoulders, push my head up, my fontanelle, and here we go. Ooh, all the way to here, all the way up my back, whole thing. It's weird. It's a kind of tired. It's different from other kinds of tired doing that. Okay, so last one I'm going to be pushing up. Now, this is where you can certainly do this in a sitting position. You can push you can do just your neck. You can involve your hips or you can involve the whole body. And again, I'm going to involve the whole body for the last one. Feet parallel. I'm going to go a little bit wider. No reason. Why not? Sacrum, relaxed. I'm just going to sit here for just 1 second. I'm going to take a couple breaths to sort of bring my breathing into my belly. Expanding the belly is important. Vagus nerve, goes through it. You'll stimulate your vagus nerve, which will help you relax, which will calm you down. Now I'm about to stimulate myself, so I'm calming myself down. And here we go. All right, now I've got my hands on my head. I haven't started yet. I'm going to work on the pose. So from the bottom up, my hands are on the back third of my head. So this, my middle fingers are sort of about over my fontanelle, which would be aligned with the top of the ears. So feet parallel, knees slightly bent. Relax the sacrum down. Actually, actively push for me since I'm going to be trying to activate my whole body actively. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pull my shoulders down. I'm going to push my fontanelle up. And I'm pulling down, and here we go. Oh, that's be careful of this alignment. Be really careful. If you feel any kind of pincing or anything, come out and get a good alignment. So this is really important to push straight up here. And here we go. And relax. Whew. Man, I can just feel my body temperature turning way up. My hands are warm. So if you're someone who senses chi, I think you'll notice your chi is moving. Not so much for me, but my hands are not cold, so that's an improvement. Okay, now I've just compressed my spine and I've also been stressing my spine. I'm going to relax my spine with a bit of a forward fold. I would call this ragdoll if I were doing this as a deep flexibility pose, but I'm going to do a little bit differently. If I were doing full ragdoll, I would probably interlace my arms and just, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my arms up here. I'm really just trying to get a little bit of a relax and get break to my spine, letting it naturally hop back into place, even extend it a little bit, maybe a little bit of synovial fluid, I don't know. But if you do the combinations we did with the twisting of your spine and the compression and then the full body strengthening, you do this, it takes about 15 minutes. Do this 3 times a week for 3 weeks. I guarantee you, you'll notice results. They're not going to be huge, but they'll be noticeable. Okay, hey buddy, how you doing? Are we ready to stretch? Tell you what, first stretch for tonight. Since you're there, let's do a squat. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna do a squat. There we go. Let's see if I can get my feet a little bit. There we go. Poor kitty got in a fight last week. That's what got my thumb bit off. Big old scratches in my leg. He got an abscess, but he's doing much better. Though, yeah, this is doing a lot better. Yeah. You'll eventually have hair back there again, buddy. Yes, you will. Now the danger here, and it's here. I've been doing these poses now for 4 years. I'm not trying to. It's not. My point is, I've been doing it long enough that if I were to consistently pet him with my right hand, that's asymmetrical. So be conscious of your efforts, and as much as you can, if you're doing something like this, first of all, if you can avoid it, it's great. But you know, he'll cry if I don't let him hang out with me. So try to be cognizant of that while you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and try to do things symmetrical. As an example, I used to regularly get a really tight pull in my left shoulder, and after getting a massage one time, I simply put my arm up like this because I used to drive manual transmission, and I would have my left arm hand on the steering wheel and my right arm up. And after the massage, when I did that, I felt, ah, I'm compressing the muscle and therefore doing this a lot and shortening it. And what that meant was about every 4 months, I would throw out my shoulder and it hurt like hell. Once I realized I was doing that, I added a behavior. After getting into the car, I would put my arm on my rib cage until I broke that habit. It took me about a week to break the habit, and I haven't pulled that muscle since. I pulled other muscles, and I've had to discover other asymmetrical behaviors. But if you notice that something is consistently happening, figure out what you're doing that is asymmetrical and then try to find a way to counteract it. So, for example, if you do any kind of racket sport, the side that you use as your main hand is going to be tight. So, you want to stretch that arm, and you're going to want to also counter stretch the other arm. Never try to go to balance through an asymmetrical approach of only fixing one side. You need to balance both, but you don't have to do it in the same amount of time. That's where asymmetrical poses like a right side, left side is great. Your right side's tighter, do it for 3 minutes, do the left side for 2 or 5 and 4. Yep, I am very gabby tonight, kitty. It's taken about 3 years to get to the point where I can stay in the squat kind of comfortably. But even after 5 minutes, it's going to be tough getting. It's not. It's going to hurt a little bit getting up. I say hurt. Yeah, I'm going to whine, and it's more of a whining kind of hurt, not like a real pain. Huh? I wonder though. What do you think, kitty? You know. Now, generally, when I'm doing deep flexibility stuff, this is definitely deep flexibility stuff. I really don't try to do too much interacting with the kitty. However, if I can do it and stay in the pose, this petting your cat, petting your dog, hanging out with your animals counts as parasympathetic nervous system stimulating. So as long as you can do it somewhat calmly, great. Sometimes he wants to bump me a lot. I can't do that. Or if he just wants to flop around. And so sometimes I have to push him away because he will not calm down. But when he does this, I can do quite a few poses and get him pets at the same time. Yes, I can. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and follow my general advice of I'm going to try to not use the muscles that I've stretched to get back into a neutral position. But actually, I mean, definitely better than it has been. So, my squat used to be about here 4 or 5 years ago. Um, and I'll just say this flexibility practice that I've been doing for 4 years, I had no idea all the stuff it was going to open up, both physically in my body and also mentally, and well, it just in general enabling me to do things that I didn't think would have been possible. All right, now last night I did a pose with plantar flexion, toes pointed, full squats. Also requires dorsiflexion, toes curled under. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this pose. And this one, that's the pins. Hands behind back in prayer pose, the needles. So this is pins and needles. If you wear shoes with an elevated heel, most people do. Most shoes have some slight elevation. Over years of doing that, it shortens your muscles. Sitting shortens the front of your body. So when you stand, those shortened muscles stress your body, pulling it forward, and your back compensates. And a lot of times, a tight lower back or a stiff lower back comes from it having to compensate for a shortened front. Well, this pose is going to stretch my toes. It's going to stretch my ankles. And in doing all of that, I completely lost my train of thought. But I was talking about, let's see what, yeah, I'll just stop, move on. I haven't got my hands fully in prayer pose. My right Right wrist on the outside has a bit of a thing, and it has for years. I think it's a tendon thing, so I got to treat it gingerly. This is still giving me a bit of a shoulder opener, which is the purpose of the needles part of the pose. Ah, okay. So if you have an elevated heel, I remembered. Uh, what happens is your heel's a little bit higher, and as a result, it's going to be harder for you to put your feet flat on the floor, which means when you try to go into a squat, your heels are going to come up. So a way to work on that is this pose actually. This pose is going to stretch your toes. It's going to stretch the arches of your foot, the between the balls, the front two balls of your feet. And generally speaking, if you do that along with poses that help with the calves, you will be able to slowly over time have your feet flat and get your bum closer and closer to the floor. Now, over years, and when I say years, if you do this pose once a week, you'll notice huge improvements in your ability to get closer to the floor in a squat. And then what you can do is go into a squat and use something like a rolled up yoga mat to give you some heel support so that you can stay in the squat and loosen the other part of your body. And also, a yoga mat will give so slowly over time, you can use less yoga mat and also slowly stretch yourself to flat feet. And then you can start to wear zero lift shoes with a wide toe box and eat a lot of granola. No, don't eat a lot of granola. That's too many carbs. You don't want to spike your endocrine system. Yes, I know there's some fiber there, but typical granola has way too many carbs. It's just a good number. Your body can handle roughly the equivalent of 30 grams of carbohydrates, like sugar, in your body. Anything above that going into your bloodstream at the same time is toxic, typically. That's an approximate number. Toxic, which means it will do damage to your brain. It does a lot of damage across your body, inflammation and so on. So your body will introduce insulin and get it out of your blood system and stores it as fat. So you eat a lot of carbs, your body says, okay, I'm going to store that as fat. And then the more you do that, the more you train your gut biome to want those, the more your gut biome will convince you that you need carbs, which will change your psychological relationship to food. I'm not talking hypothetically, I'm talking my lived experience. I know this, I've done it multiple times now. And I've also found that a green smoothie with a lot of sprouts and other stuff, especially with specifically, and this is weird, soaked almonds, keeping the water and the tannins in the water helps my blood sugar just enough that I have slightly fewer sugar cravings. I was just a lucky find. Now, my knees are sliding forward as they do, and eventually my shins might start to feel a bit stretched, and that can be a bit painful, but it's getting close. I'm almost done with the pose. Okay. I'm going to release my arms because I'm going to need them. I'm going to lean forward just a bit. I've still got my toes, same pressure on my toes. I'm going to slowly release. Oh, yeah, those are really bent. Yikes. Okay. Hi, chest. Thank you for helping me. Set my toes in dorsiflexion just to flatten them. Yikes. That's a good twist. I came out a little bit too quickly, but they're fine. They're mostly connected still. Okay, chest, what are we going to do? Well, I'll tell you, I've got time for what I was going to do last night. I wanted to do this last night, and I didn't do it. So I'm going to work on my my adductors. Sorry, abductors, AB abductors, right here. And a good pose for that is pigeon. Another good pose is double pigeon. So pigeon looks something like this. Front leg approximately with the mat, twisting on the knee, plantar flexion on the back leg. This is an example, so on. You can do a lot of variations. Double pigeon, same thing. Other leg, same way. And then there's a gap here, and you lean forward. Half pigeon is something like this, and you can do this while sitting in a chair. I want to do half pigeon, but I want to actually be very active in this stretch. Now, I'm not going to be active in the muscle that's relaxing. And one of the principles is wet noodle. Wet noodle says the muscle you're stretching needs to be relaxed, and that's just logically it makes sense. The same fibers are used for relaxing and strength. They're either strength or relaxing. If you try to do both, you can get a little bit of flexibility gains, but if you do it this way, this makes structural changes happen. It's just a structurally better way to do things. So my legs are bent. I'm going to do this. This is a very targeted pose. I often do it for 5 minutes, and I'll say after 5 minutes, there's a bit of a disassociation. My body feels slightly disassociated for a few seconds after coming out of it. But I'm just going to bring this leg up, and then I'm going to intensify the pose. The stretch is over here. The way I intensify the pose is I bring my left foot closer, and it's not even doing anything. I'm just bringing it closer. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, that's good. And that's 3 minutes. Ooh, that might be too much. I'm going to come out. That's too much, too fast. If you go too far, too fast, your reflexes will respond by going, whoosh, nope. So 7 out of 10. Once you practice this and you slow down and you feel your muscles, you'll start to notice the feeling of a sort of a cascade effect if you start to move too quickly. And it can be pretty acute at times. So be careful. Don't go too far because you're actually hurting yourself if you do too much. Consistency is important actually as well, because a lot of what we're doing here is training our nervous system to be calm. And the more you do this, the more you breathe and calm yourself down while putting yourself into discomfort, the better you get at doing it. And the better you get at doing it, the easier it becomes. And the easier it becomes, the more it becomes part of other parts of your life. It starts to bleed in. It has a much larger systemic effect than you might expect. 5 times a week. If you just do this, if you have to do only one thing, do the stretching stuff, 15, 20 minutes, 5 nights a week. All the other stuff that I do, you can do that. That's great. Just do the stretching. 15, 20 nights a week. 15 to 20 minutes, 5 nights a week. Seriously. Do it for 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I increased my stretch in triangle pose. If you know triangle pose, if you don't, it doesn't matter. About that much. So about the length of my hand plus 2 fingers. I was able to go completely flat hand on the ground without warming up, which if you've done the pose, that's not a big deal. But for me, that was a noticeable amount of change in a very short amount of time doing a series of poses like this. This was not one of those poses, actually. I found this one later. My right hip flexors have definitely really gotten better. Okay, so now, that's really getting deep into here, right down here. So I've been slowly moving side to side to get more coverage across the entire muscle, just gentle movements. Maybe a total of an inch, but moving over seconds, just Just a little bit of gentle movement. Feel where it hits. Okay, I'm gonna come out of this. And actually, I gotta say, my leg is kind of almost turned off. I mean, like, it doesn't hurt. It's not numb, but it's almost like the nervous system said, "Oh, you don't care about that? Okay, fine. I'm gonna ignore that." So just shake it a little bit, wake it up again. Yeah, that's fine. It's a weird feeling. It's kind of fun, but that's why these poses, whatever this kind of work, this deep flexibility work, you do it last. I'm gonna go to bed after this. I suppose if I ever actually record videos like this professionally, I'll have to get rid of the grunts. The grunts are free. The grunts are gratis. Gratis grunts. What do you think? No? Yeah, it's pretty lame, isn't it, Chesh? Come here. Come here. Now, interestingly, gently petting him does do micro movements in my pose a little bit here. So that's another thing. Again, this is yin and yang. Work with what you've got in your environment. You got energy coming in, try to use it in whatever you're doing. So Kitty's there. If you can work with it, great. If you can't, set up a boundary. But if you can engage with it and interact with it, and I'm using the metaphor. He, it's him. I don't mean it. I mean in general, whatever the general energy is that's going on around you. If you can, however you can engage with that, and then respond and incorporate it into what you're doing, you're just more in balance with what is. Tai Chi, grand ultimate, the balance of yin and yang. Wu Chi, before Tai Chi, before the separation of yin and yang, the one point, the singularity. When we start the form, we start at the singularity. We engage with incoming yin energy, and then we end the form and go back to Wu Chi. So we start from the one point, we find separation in movement and space, we balance the incoming and the outcoming, and then in the act of doing that and visualizing through the form, you're putting yourself into a state of moving meditation. That's the same thing we're doing here. We're just doing it in a static form. But the cycle of no separation to separation, back to no separation to separation, creation, destruction. So I guess if she was the destroyer, the end of the form, let's see, Brahman, Shiva, Vishnu. Shiva's the destructor. Is Vishnu the creator and Brahman's the maintainer, or is Brahman the maintainer? Well, anyway, there's three forces, right? There's the beginning and the end, and then you maintaining the middle. I need to check up on my Hindu gods. I've forgotten some of them. And I'm just using them as metaphors for Trinity. The interesting thing about three, Weinberg's rule of three, if you can't understand at least three problems with your understanding of your problem, then you don't really understand your problem. To have a decision, you need to have three options. Two options is a dichotomy. One is no choice at all. Wow. Okay, that was sufficient. I would stretch more, but I need to respect sleep because, again, in order of importance for your overall well-being, number one is psychological health. This is, if you can do something about it, do it. Next thing to look at is sleep. Next thing to look at is what you eat, nutrition. This exercise is last. So with that in mind, good night.